identifying where that impact will occur, how serious it'll be, and then working out plans to try and ameliorate the effects of the greenhouse effect on us.
An interdepartmental committee report has already predicted that there will possibly be more coastal erosion due to unusually high tides, declining rainfall in the southwest, a possible reduction of 20% over the next 30 years, and frequent severe cyclones. However, stopping these effects isn't possible, according to one expert.
Yeah, it's better to plan to adapt to changing circumstances, but we can't stop the global meteorological effects from changing, or global climate change, of which we are a small part of, so we need to plan to adapt.
Australian scientists today unveiled a new test kit they've developed which promises to change the lives of people with celiac disease. Sufferers can't eat any food containing gluten, a protein found in wheat, barley and rye products. Until now it's been almost impossible to tell which foods contain gluten.
When Margaret Wilson serves breakfast, she has to serve two different meals. Like his mother, Peter is a celiac. Younger brother Ian, however, is not. Unlike the other 5,000 celiacs around Australia, if Margaret or Peter eat any food containing even tiny traces of gluten, they become very ill. So by absolute necessity, not choice, it has to be two different cereals and two types of bread. The danger for all celiacs is that gluten's often hidden in processed foods. But now scientists at the CSIRO's Wheat Research Unit have produced a laboratory test for gluten. Food samples are dissolved, blended and put in a centrifuge before the new test agent is added, which in an electronic analyzer shows up any gluten. It's the first gluten test in the world, and it's already been patented both here and overseas. Because it's unique, the test has enormous export potential.
It depends on the Australian company being able to take a risk for a couple of years and then see some rather significant returns at that time.
For celiacs, their diet will become much safer.
We'll be sure that the breads and the flours we're using are truly gluten-free.
The team's also produced a home test kit that's as easy to use as a home pregnancy test kit. It'll tell celiacs in just 5 minutes whether any food they want to eat contains gluten. But while the home test kit is well past the drawing board stage, it's still awaiting the commercial go-ahead.
The Bond Corporation has announced a record after-tax profit of more than $273 million for the past financial year. The result was a 70% increase on last year's profit. The group's biggest earner was its brewing division. Bond Media also announced a profit of just over $34 million. The world's longest endurance ride began today, pitting horse and rider against some of the most rugged country near Sydney. The 400-kilometre, 5-day trek is the Marathon of Endurance Riding.
After a dark pre-dawn start, daylight made the navigation of the unknown bush an easier task for the riders. Speed is not of the essence in this ride, the longest endurance event in the world. Riders say it's a true test of horsemanship. It's an arduous trek over rough terrain of the McDonald Valley near the Hawkesbury River north of Sydney. It's rocky, extremely steep and sometimes very wet. The first female rider back from the two legs of the day was 54-year-old June Peterson.
We headed up into the hills, but it was pitch dark. And once you headed up into the hills, there were some washaways and you could very easily strain a tendon on a horse, and that's a little bit of a strain while you're going through that sort of country. And then
her and every rider's major fear is for the horse to fail a physical at the end of each ride. If the horses are deemed unfit by the vet, they're vetted out.
They're just let down, disappointed is the first feeling. Then at times they have compassion for the horse and think, oh, thank heavens that I'm out and it's not the injury or the lameness is not going to get any worse. So they're often relieved.
With 12 hours to complete the daily legs, the horses can be paced. But after today, with another 350 kilometres ahead, come Friday and to finish is to win.
Sporting news now, here's Trevor Jenkins.
Thanks a lot, Pete, and good evening to you. Well, the Australian cricket team's tour to Pakistan is still on at this stage, and 4 West Australian representatives are fighting fit. On Wednesday, they leave for a week's acclimatisation in Brisbane.
The big news from today's WACA workout is that giant pace bowler Bruce Reid has passed an official fitness test in front of selector Laurie Saul and is back to his best.
I think he's very happy with his back at the moment, and he's done a fair bit of bowling, so his legs should be in good nick for when we get to Brisbane.
The Pakistanis have to rank in the top 3 teams in the world, and they'll be a formidable opponent over there on their wickets with their umpires. So today, what better way to prepare than with an Abdul Qadir type leg spinner like Giles Bush, a Madassa-like medium pacer, in this case Michael Valletta, and a pace bowler who gets a bit of bounce, much like Imran Khan might do if he comes out of retirement again.
It's not sure at this stage whether Imran's going to play or not. He has said that he won't, but you know, obviously Jawed Mandad's a world-class batsman, and Akram's a very good all-rounder now, and they've also got Abdul Qadir, who is probably the best leg spinner in the world.
Of course, all of that might be mere supposition should the tour be cancelled following President Zia's death.
I think it's very hard to actually get any news out of Pakistan at the moment, but you know, the Australian Cricket Board are endeavouring to do what they can, and so far the Pakistan Board have said that everything's okay and that the tour will go ahead.
The future of Australian cricket's in good hands, with WA's 4 representatives firing, and the next generation looks to be well catered for too, especially if young Shaun Marsh ever gets the bowling machine to work.
Well, let's hope Bruce Reid doesn't lose any weight in Pakistan. VFL football now, and the West Coast Eagles are now odds-on to make their first ever final series. Their 4th win in a row against Collingwood yesterday confirms their credentials.
5 weeks ago, you could have got any odds about an Eagles finals berth. Today, nobody'd accept your bet. One of the prime movers in the Eagles' 4-game winning streak has been left flanker Dwayne Lamb.
Yeah, I was very happy. I've been playing the back line over the last few weeks. Yes, I got the opportunity to have a bit of a ruck rove out of the back line, and it worked out well. I got a bit of the ball, and the back line's been working very well together.
The stockily-built Australian Airlines sales rep has no illusions about the Eagles' next goal either.
We're not short of a spot in the finals yet, and next week we've got to beat Footscray to make sure we make the 5 and make that 4th spot.
The Eagles' 12th win of the season surpassed the record of the 1987 side, and their 4th consecutive win was also a record. All memories of a mid-season slump have now faded.
We had a lot of troubles midway through the year, and since then I think things have started to roll for us, and we've worked hard at it, and Toddy sort of put some ideas forward, and he's responded well to the players, and we've really started to pick up confidence.
But the Eagles won't want to take Footscray easy at Boggy Western Oval on Saturday. The packed ladder shows why. A 45-point win by Footscray and a similar win by Essendon over St Kilda could spell doom for the Eagles, especially if Melbourne beats Carlton. Still, the Sons of Subiaco Oval have done everything right in the run home, and with the hope of firmer Melbourne grounds in September and the return of Phil Scott, the Eagles are at full strength and looking good.
Also on football, Simon Madden tonight was cleared in Melbourne of a charge of unduly rough play. Well, the Holden Special Vehicles team is planning a 6-car assault on the endurance races at Sandown, Bathurst and Wellington in New Zealand. And the car they expect to greet the checkered flag was unveiled today.
This is the vehicle on which Holden is pinning its hopes. It may look like any other Commodore, but recent test runs suggest otherwise.
Up at Bathurst a week ago, we were under the lap record and the quickest car on the other called the Raceway. We were well under the Sierra lap record. So on some facts around this, it's looking real good.
The improvements that have brought about those record times can be found both outside and in. On the outside, a new streamlined design has achieved fuel savings of 15%. On the inside, well, Holden was keeping that hidden today, but they insist their new fuel-injected V8 with improved electronics can generate 500 horsepower and is now more reliable. If any bugs exist, they haven't shown up yet, but Larry Perkins will be well prepared if they do.
A race team that wants to keep winning races keeps looking for its weaknesses and so then keeps fixing them, and so the vicious circle goes on. But we're happy at the moment.
And any petrol heads out there who'd like one of these can buy the basic model off the shelf for about $45,000. But the improvements will cost a bit more.
My company indeed sells those to other race privateers, and they are around $135,000.
Good value?
Well, if it can win Bathurst, I think it's damn good value.
And that's all in our sporting coverage tonight. Time for the weather details now with John, call me Baronia, Colwell.
Thanks, Trevor, and we won't say what we call Trevor as a middle name. Let's go back to the state today. A fine and pleasant day in the metropolitan area, as indeed it was for most parts, although there were some light falls in the eastern Eucla and eastern parts of the interior, clearing away fairly rapidly. Mind you, that fine and pleasant day was preceded by a pretty cold night. Let me tell you the maximums first of all: 34 at Columbarioo and the coolest 16 at Eucla. But last night, -1 degree at both Yeelirrie and also Corrigan, and many other centres reporting very cool conditions below freezing point anyway. In the metropolitan area at 10 to 6 this morning, we recorded 6.3, that's the official minimum, but Joe Beckett of Yanchep tells me he got down to 1 degree, and unconfirmed reports of frost damage at Medina, so quite a cold night. Not quite so cold for those of us on the coast tonight, but certainly as cold in inland areas. The maximum today at 2:05, 20.3 degrees. Now on to tomorrow's forecast temperatures, and you'll see that although today was fairly cool in inland parts, it is warming up just a little, most notably up 2 for Esperance, Kalgoorlie and Dalwallinu, and Meekatharra, you're due to rise by 3 degrees. On the satellite photograph, there's a whole plethora of features waiting to come upon us. Rather hard to pick them. I hope you've got your sets finely tuned tonight. We've got 2 upper trough features, the first a very fine one just off the coast, and then a second one there. That already producing showers and drizzle on the southwest corner and also in the metropolitan area not very long ago. Further out, 2 weak cold fronts probably will combine before they get to us, and that could be any time between midday tomorrow and late in the afternoon. I expected to produce showers certainly around the southwest corner, mainly coastal, getting as far north as Perth, and then later across to Albany and also across to Esperance. And deeper down still, a significant cold front, but that's Wednesdays. Let's go to the surface chart at midday today. The high pressure system, the dominant feature, and those clear skies and that cool air coming in leading to the fairly cool nights. Again, no reason for that to change. And here's the first of our approaching cold fronts and the second one just off the screen. It's a lot closer by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, however, and there they are, a lot closer together now, right on the coast. And as I mentioned, expected to produce those showers as far north as Perth and then around to Esperance, but strictly coastal showers. Some strong winds too as they come through. So apart from that, fine throughout the rest of the state and fairly pleasant. Interstate, not so. We've got mainly fine conditions for Darwin, becoming fine in Alice Springs. A fine day, however, for both Adelaide and also for Hobart. Now we've got showers in Melbourne expected tomorrow, rain developing in Sydney, rain in Brisbane, and for Budget, and I hope this isn't an omen, occasional rain and 12 degrees in Canberra. Before we go to any warnings, let me tell you that the flower of the night is Boronia megastigma, one of the most perfumed flowers in the world, and it comes from the west. It's a reminder of spring, but you wouldn't think so with the warnings I'm going to give you for coastal waters along the south coast. We've got strong wind warnings between Cape Naturalist and Bremer Bay. And the state forecast: isolated showers in the southwest district increasing tonight and a few showers extending to adjacent districts tomorrow. It'll be another cold, frosty night in the goldfields and adjacent parts of the Wheatbelt and the Eucla. For Perth, the forecast simply a shower or 2 or 3. Northwest to westerly winds, tonight's minimum a little bit warmer at 9, tomorrow's maximum 20, and the outlook in brief for Wednesday at this stage, wet and windy. Peter.
Thanks, John. The main points again tonight. Targets have been found daubed with Aboriginal flags on a rifle range near Broome. The Premier, Peter Dowding, has again denied that there will be an early state election. He says he still intends the election to be held in February next year. And the federal opposition has cleared the way for a coalition government to cut